This is the dating advice that's actually keeping you single. There is so much dating advice, pop dating advice, mainstream dating advice out there, and so much of it is actually rooted in manipulation or scarcity thinking that what happens is that drops to what we would call a lower vibrational state. It is not aligned with love. And for us to attract love, to manifest love, we've got to be a match for the vibration of love. And so today we're going to be breaking down 7 pieces of advice that we see on TikTok, we see on Instagram, that are just rehashed but low vibrational pieces of advice that on the surface sound good, but actually keep us single, so that when we spot them, we can know that's not what to do, and I'll give you a better option. You see, I believe in tools, not rules. So much of the advice is all rule-based. When he does this, do this. But instead, when you have a tool belt of great principles that you can operate from, then you're able to build a beautiful relationship because you know, hey, in this moment, I'm going to pull out this tool and there is actually no hard and fast rules. So the first piece of advice that we've got to obliterate is this one. Never text him first. I get it. This is the golden rule. You've got to let him pursue. You got to let him advance the relationship. And yes, when he's interested, he is going to be pursuing. He is going to be advancing the relationship. There is a minimum threshold that's required in a relationship for it to catch fire. Imagine like there's a spark that's initiated. And so many men, especially now, are talking about the lack of indicators that a woman is even interested. Like she will not text him. She will not act excited because she's so petrified of scaring him away. She's so petrified of chasing him that she'll actually totally reduce the level of interest that she has. So what happens to the guy? What he says is even if he is interested in her, he'll say, oh, well, she's not into me. If he thinks he's going to lose, no man will enter a card game if he's guaranteed to lose. No man will enter a sport if he's guaranteed to lose. He's got to believe that there's an opportunity to win in this situation. So what you want to do is you want to give enough interest to let him know that it's worth pursuing you. And in some formats, that looks like texting him first. In the online format, when you send an email or you send an emoji or you like somebody first, completely fine. It's not in the masculine at all. It's the equivalent of being out at a bar or being out at a coffee shop and seeing some guy and actually just winking at him or smiling at him. You're signaling interest, and that is beautiful. That is awesome. He's got to have enough interest to pursue. If you go on a date with a guy, after that date, the thought is, well, I can't thank him for the date because he hasn't texted me first after that date. No, here's a good tool to operate with. How would I respond to a good friend if we had just had lunch together? Or how would I respond to a good friend if we had just gone out to dinner? As soon as you're done, you shoot him a text, be like, hey, that was so awesome. Really had a great time tonight. Same thing with this guy. Because the two of you are getting to know one another. He wants to know that you're normal. He wants to know that you're just a good human being, as you want to know he's a good human being. And so both of these tools where you say, hey, it's okay to show indicators of interest. It's okay to text him if a normal friend would text another human being. Those are great ways to operate from a vibration of love versus fear. Here's the second piece of advice that you want to be wary of. Date multiple men at once, so you don't get too attached. Again, is that coming from love or is that coming from fear? The afraid of not getting too attached, because if you get too attached, you might get your heart broken. All of that is fear-based thinking. We will date lots of guys with sort of this foot on the brake energy. That stalls out a bunch of really good connections that could happen. But the other thing is that we don't actually open our hearts. And when we don't open our heart emotionally, we never actually create a great connection with another human being. I remember there was this woman that I was coaching, and she was divorced. She was in her 40s, and she was given this advice that she's got to date lots of guys. So when she started my coaching program, she was dating like 5 different guys, and she was just overwhelmed. She was like completely exhausted from talking to these guys, accepting dates with these guys. I said, let me ask you a question. Do you want to be dating all these guys? And she was like, well, I don't want to get too attached. I want to keep my options open. I said, you know that you don't have to date 5 guys all at once. Which of these guys do you actually want to see? Out of all those guys, there was just one that she was interested in. And I said, what if you gave yourself permission to just date that one guy? How does that feel? Check into your body. And she immediately took a deep breath. Her shoulders relaxed. Her energy softened. She was like, that feels so good. And I asked her, would you be willing to give yourself permission to explore the relationship with this guy and just see where it goes. Now, we can still be unattached. It's called high engagement, low attachment, meaning you're leaning into the relationship, you're staying in the present moment, we're not futurizing, you're discovering how it's unfolding, but you're letting yourself have maximum joy, maximum connection in the moment that you're in. That's where the magic happens. And she said 100%. He was so excited when she was like, look, I'm not going to date any other guys. They started dating. They became exclusive. And now they've got this amazing relationship. But that only happens when we come from the question, what would you love? I asked her, what is it that you would love? Would you love to date all these guys? Or which one of them would you love to date? She came back to that one guy. Love begets love. Fear begets fear. Pay very close attention to the questions we're asking ourselves. Is the question sourced in love or is the question sourced in fear? Often, just that awareness will help you reconnect to a question that's sourced in love, and then it will attract love into your life. Next piece of advice is don't be too available. If there was like one that's like super false, super fake. He texts you and say, hey, you want to hang out this weekend? You're like, no, I'm busy. When you're not busy, you could easily hang out. Why do you think he's texting you and why do you think you're available? So the two of you could connect. Now, the spirit behind this one that's actually deeper, I think is great, which is have a great life. Have things going on, like your own interests, your own hobbies. Live a life that you love. Because here's what I believe. When you are living a life that you love, you will find the love of your life. That's how it works, because like attracts like. But do not artificially make up reasons that you're busy just to act unavailable. I've had women and talked to women who have done this where they have literally made up reasons they were busy for, like, oh, I can't see you for like 3 weeks. And then the guy was like, oh, she's too busy. Like, I want to be with a woman who actually has availability and time to hang out with me. So he didn't call her back. And her game playing actually killed the connection in the relationship. The tool is this. Number one, create a life you love. Create some interesting things for yourself. Do the hobbies, do the classes, do all of that. And the second tool is if you have plans, do not cancel your plans to hang out with him, especially if it's brand new. He's got to fit in to the life that you love in the way that you've designed it. So you're not dropping your friends or dropping something that really matters to you last minute just because he's available. When you bring those two things in harmony, what happens is then you're operating from your authentic self, your authentic power, and that communicates volumes. He can see it. He can feel it. You can see it and feel it from him when he's being real and he's being authentic. And what happens is there's a flow that gets created in the relationship. It's got rhythm to it. It's got connection to it. It's really, really beautiful. Fourth piece of advice is make him jealous just to get his attention. No, just no. This is classic manipulation. It's immature. It creates drama. It generates insecurity in your partner. Ultimately, often where this comes from is this comes from insecurity in ourselves. If we're trying to make the other person jealous, that is a strategy to get attention. It's a strategy to actually get an underlying need met. And that need is for reassurance. If you actually get to the bottom of it, why do people test their partners? They test them because they're feeling insecure. They're testing because they're feeling uncertain about their level of interest, their level of commitment, their level of love. And that never leads to more love. Why? Because they're coming from fear. They're coming from that insecurity. And there's all kinds of ways that people will test their partner. So notice if any of these sound familiar. Maybe someone did this to you. Maybe there's a pattern in which you do this. Withdrawing emotionally to see if the other person is going to pick up on it and ask you what's wrong. That's a way that we test our partner. Are they in tune with us? Do they really care about us? Right? Instead of just asking for what we need in that moment. Crafting small conflicts to make him wrong, to see if he'll make the correction or he'll lean in or he'll apologize to you, knowing that that apology is a sign that he values you and what it is that you prefer. Or pulling back sexually or pulling back physically, like withholding your physical affection to see if he's going to be the one that initiates with you. Instead of just saying, hey, honey, I've got this need, this feeling that I would love for you to be the one to initiate. All of these are forms of manipulation. The best practice is just clear communication about how you're feeling so you both can get your needs met. This next piece of bad advice I see everywhere, and it is be the cool girl. and be relaxed. Never have needs. You just got to go with the flow. And in the beginning, you don't want to rock the boat. In the beginning, you don't want to scare him off. You don't want to ask him whether he wants a commitment. Ooh, you're going to scare him off. You don't want to ask him if he wants kids on the first date. Are you kidding me? These are all versions of be the cool girl because you don't want to scare him off. You don't want to rock the boat. Here's the truth. High quality people have standards. They have needs and they know what they're worth and they know what they want. They don't come across as entitled. This is where it crosses the line. You don't come across as entitled or better than anybody else, but you see the value in others and you own the value in yourself. You cannot scare off a guy who wants a relationship on the first date by asking if he wants a relationship in his life. From an unattached position, you don't have desperation breath. You're not like saying, I want you and that's it. No, you're literally just saying, hey, what is it that you would love? What's your vision? And you're sharing your vision with him, that your vision is that one day when you meet the right guy, it takes a special guy to win your heart. You would love to be married, or you would love to be in partnership, or you would love to have kids, or you would love to share a home together, whatever it is. And you're painting a vision for what it is that you would love. You cannot scare off the right guy by holding to your standards. Even if those standards are, you don't kiss on the first date. Even if those standards are, you're not going to sleep with him before you get married. Bum, bum, bum. Like, I know that just drops the bomb. Like, some of you are like, what? No person's ever going to wait around and not have sex before you get married. I've literally had clients that was their big paradigm. They're like, I can't find the love of my life. My religious beliefs are I do not sleep together before I'm married. And I'm like, that's fine. When you meet the right guy, he will wait for you. One woman in particular, her name was Linda. She was in her 60s and divorced, getting back into dating. And she was like, what guy is going to wait to have sex before we're married? And I told her, your guy, because it matters to you. Linda met a guy named Jim and they started dating. Linda and Jim fell in love. And in all transparency, Jim did not like Linda's standards. He did not hold that same belief. But he loved Linda. He respected Linda. And he and Linda waited until they got married in order to have sex. And they've been married now for many, many, many years. And so know this, you cannot scare off the right guy by holding to your standards and communicating what matters to you. Next piece of really bad advice that's out there is, if it's meant to be, it'll just happen. I used to want to slap people when they would tell me this. Like, you'll find it when you're not looking for it, right? Just relax. Right? Oh my gosh. It sounds spiritual. It sounds super wise. But here's the thing. Love isn't just about divine timing. It's also about divine action. I love those ideas because God cannot steer a parked car. We've got to be willing to do things ourselves. Part of us having the desire for love is actually in who we become as we take action towards the relationship that we want. It's realizing more of who we really are as a spiritual being in this human experience. This is what I wanted, was to kick back, relax, and have love just magically appear. One day as I'm kind of walking through the mall or I'm at a coffee shop or something and boom, we bump into each other. I was challenged to say, okay, what work do I need to do on myself to open the door to love in my life? Because it wasn't happening. And I knew when I began to ask that question, I knew that there was some really deep work that I had to do specifically on loving myself, because I was so judgmental of myself. Like, if you knew the conversation that was happening in my head, it was definitely not a best friend conversation. You might be feeling that same way too, where you just beat yourself up, berate yourself, or insult yourself, or put yourself down. We've got to change the relationship with ourselves to be more loving before we can really give and receive the love from somebody else. So I love this sentence where it says, it's not that you'll find it when you're not looking, it's you'll find it when you're not lacking. And what that means is that when we can actually generate a state of self-love and love abundance right where we are, so that it's not a lack of love is the reason why we want love, but a sharing of love that's already here, then that aligns us with love's presence and all things begin to flow. So what if we considered the idea that, okay, what's my part in this journey of making love welcome into my life? Notice what inspired ideas come into your mind and take action on those, knowing that as you take one step towards love, takes 1,000 steps towards you. And I love this segue because this last one is very much like a cousin to the one that we just talked about. And it's just love yourself and the right person will appear. And this one, of course, is tricky because loving yourself is a crucial foundation, absolutely. Like it's the doorway through which we allow love into our life. But love's not like this vending machine where we insert self-esteem into ourself, poof, and then our soulmate drops right into our lap. There are three major components actually to manifesting love. And it's a mindset that we call a love abundant mindset. It's a heart set that's a love abundant heart set. And there are love abundant skill sets that must be matched with the right mindset and heart set to really foster and give a rise to love. So let's unpack this a little bit. Mindset is our alignment. It's our belief system. It's what aligns you with the kind of love you desire. Because you and I, we don't attract what it is that we want. We will attract what we believe we're worthy of, what we get in harmony with. Heart set is the allowing. So we have the alignment and then we have the allowing, the openness to actually receive love. It's our energetic posture, if you will. What I love about every single one of these is there's one simple principle that we can use, and that is the idea sourced in love or is it sourced in fear? And if the idea is sourced in fear, then we ask ourselves one question, and that is, what would love do here? And when we recalibrate to love, we become a magnet for love and we allow more love into our lives and we express more love in our lives. Now, my question for you is, what's the worst dating advice you've ever received? Go ahead and put that in the comment section below. I'm going to love checking that out. Here's to you. Here's to your amazing love life. Feel a big hug from me to you. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you soon.